Joining us now is Robert Lebetti, executive producer with the news and special teams at the Wall Street Journal. That's the unit responsible for the documentary released 2 weeks ago inside Prigozhin's Wagner Group, Russia's secret war company. Let me ask you this, Robert. I saw you standing. We were about to talk shortly. We get this breaking news that there is a deal. Yeah. What do you make of this potential deal?
I mean, I think it seems like it's part of the, we worked on this documentary for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And the whole time we're sort of thinking, what is Prigozhin's angle here?
Yeah.
Is he going to threaten Vladimir Putin ultimately? Or is he some sort of mouthpiece for Vladimir Putin? And I have to say it is surprising, but I guess that is par for the course in what we've seen over the last 6 or 8 months from Prigozhin.
Well, and you have to kind of compress what has happened over many months and years and what's happened last 24 hours for us. But what did happen? What was the falling out in the last 24 hours or in the last week? And then what just happened in the last bunch of hours because we have a deal? What do you think has happened in that relationship?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I think what we learned from working on this documentary was that Prigozhin was clearly, in some way approved by Putin to run the Wagner Group, right? I mean, this is an apparatus that sort of existed in Russia, funneling money through companies, through shell companies to execute military operations around the world. And that has allowed Wagner to spread around the world in the last, less than 10 years.
So was this a power play by Yevgeny Prigozhin that he wanted more power than he already had?
I mean, it certainly seems that way. I mean, I think the way I think about it sometimes is that this group was created to sort of be do the dirty work for the Russian state and sort of allow some plausible deniability to do things around the world that maybe Putin didn't want known that the Russian state was involved in. And maybe now Prigozhin and Wagner have gotten bigger than anyone really imagined. And I think that's sort of what we were looking at in this documentary, is like tracing this trajectory.
And you chase that trajectory and who Yevgeny Prigozhin is. If this comes out to play the way we think it is, and that this deal is verified, but we're getting initial reporting.
Right.
He's a high-stakes player at the highest level because he has just pushed Vladimir Putin to the very limits. And what he gets, we don't know.
Yeah, I think that's right. But I think it also makes him probably one of the most, endangered people in the entire world right now, because I think this whole time we've been looking at Prigozhin and thinking, how far can he push this? Even though we sort of talked about would he ever threaten Putin's power, to see it happening now is just kind of fascinating. But also, I think the fact that he seems to be pulling back now may say something about, because you have to remember the whole time he's been sort of being very careful about attacking the Ministry of Defense or one of the top generals, but never specifically, even up until yesterday and today, never specifically attacking Putin himself, which seems to be a really tricky balancing act for him.
Again, the breaking news, if you're just joining MSNBC, just coming into us, Matt Bodnar just telling us that there evidently is some sort of deal that Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of Wagner, who today was moving in lightning speed, it would appear, north towards Moscow, has somehow released a deal. We don't know all the understandings of what that means, but he is essentially going to stop his move. He is no longer, evidently from the reporting, and according to the Belarusian leader, Alexander Lukashenko, that he brokered this understanding between Vladimir Putin and Yevgeny Prigozhin, and so this will stop. Whatever was about to happen, they don't want to have bloodshed between the two forces.
Right.
In case you're just joining us, wanted to get you update on that. And then, Robert Lebetti, your documentary just coming out on who is Wagner.
Yeah.
You couldn't be here at a better time. You're going to have to re-edit it, I think.
Yeah, I hope not. I mean, we made this piece because we saw back at the end of the year in December that Wagner was becoming a bigger and bigger force on the ground in Ukraine. They had started their prison recruitment program, where they were taking inmates out of prisons in Russia and putting them on the battlefield. In September, Prigozhin came out and sort of made a finally acknowledged that he was the head of Wagner in September of last year. And we see him in this video at prisons recruiting inmates to fight in Ukraine. And that is sort of the beginning of where we started to really pay more attention to maybe doing something more.
30 seconds. Did the Wagner Group, did these troops, did Yevgeny Prigozhin, any one of this complex, did they have more of the hearts and minds of Russia than potentially Vladimir Putin did? And it was at potentially the concern of Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. I think what we saw in the last, 6 or 8 months was Prigozhin sort of building up his following on Telegram, on social media, and sort of playing to the hearts and minds. And I think he was building that up to gain the power to do something like this.
And also, he was the person that broke the news that there is a deal on his very own social platform. Robert Lebetti, executive producer with the news and specials team at the Wall Street Journal, just finished, as you see on your screen right now, a documentary on the Wagner Group. Thank you so much for being here.